Now, the goal in financial management is to maximize profits or maximize the intrinsic value of a firm while staying within the guidelines of not polluting, not breaking antitrust laws, and engaging in unfair labor practices. So that's really the goal of maximizing profits. Now, one way to look at it is there was a book written not too far in the distant past by an author by the name of Robert Kiyosaki. He wrote a book it was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the whole book's premise was his father teaching him how to buy assets would be considered perfect assets. And let me give an example how what a perfect asset would look like, and then look how it would maximize your profits or the profits of the firm. So I'm going to just start right here and look at an asset today. We'll call it an asset today. We'll purchase this asset today for P0, and P would stand for the price and 0 is today. Now, this asset could do one of three things. This asset could actually rise in value. This asset could remain constant, or this asset might go down in value. Now, what are some of the things that might go up in value? Well, this is a management class, so we can put a stock here. What are some of the other things? Well, gold, silver could go up in value, could go down. Land, or I'll just put RE for real estate. Real estate. House, things of that nature. I'll keep it simple. Art, by artwork. Business. What are some of the things that might stay the same? I'm kind of running out of space here, so I'll put them right here. What are some of the things that, well, if you were to purchase an newly issued bond or preferred stock and held it to it matured, in theory and in practice, a bond and PF would stand for preferred stock would actually stay the same. Now, the fun is what would depreciate. A new car. What are some of the things it might? Well, if you purchase clothes, a computer, well, you can name some other things that might depreciate. So you can see at this point, if we're looking for an asset, now I'm going to go ahead and grab a different color here. If we're looking at an asset based upon the balance sheet that you learn in accounting 1, 2, and 3, so far the purchase of these on the top here, which is part of a perfect asset and part of what the manager is trying to do to maximize profits, would be, if you take a look, the asset rises in value here, or we refer to that as a growth, or in this case a growth potential. If by some chance liabilities doesn't change, fix that E, that's owner's equity. Since this is an algebraic equation equals, if this goes up and that stays the same, the only way that this side of the equation can keep up with that side of the equation is that has to rise as well. And a lot of times you can think of owner's equity as an individual's net worth, if you will. Because owner's equity is like home equity. As your home goes up in value, it's equity, it's value. It's the balance sheet. Now, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, also looked at perfect assets from another aspect. They have to have two potential cash flow streams, and this would only be one. So at this point, I have to eliminate some that wouldn't have the other. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a different color, and I'm going to mark some of them out. Well, gold wouldn't have this. Now, a lot of times you read studies on how well the gold has beat the stock market. Well, that's because they're only looking at it from this standpoint. I'm going to knock out art. Art does the same thing. Now, you got to be careful here with land and real estate. You have to do something with it. Now, I have 1, 2, 3 things left on your computer screen, and these are the 3 things that Robert Kiyosaki's rich dad told him to purchase, and one of them is this one, and this is what makes Robert Kiyosaki a wealthy person. Well, here's the second part of a perfect asset. It must have, again, not only the potential to grow, but also the potential to generate cash flows to the owner. Now you can see that dividends or gold does not produce cash flows. Stocks produce possible dividends. Land and real estate can produce actual cash flows if you rent out the land, if you have it farmed, or if you purchase a house and rent it out. Businesses, same thing. A business grows and generates cash to the owner. Actually, if you read another book called The Millionaire Next Door found that majority of millionaires are business owners. Now, if we come down here and think of, I call it the opposite of a perfect asset, a new car. It actually does the opposite. When you buy a new car, not only does it depreciate, it costs money to keep it up. So I always tell students new cars aren't a really good investment. So if you look back from the maximization or maximizing of profits, this is what from the standpoint of a financial manager is trying to do. They understand that you as an investor are hoping to have a stock grow, and they're hoping that the stock pays dividends, and they keep that in the back of their mind when they're trying to grow the company or maximize profits, trying to find the best return for the money they have. Not any different than what you would attempt to do with the money that you have. So I hope this helps a little bit understanding a perfect asset and maximizing of profits. And this is what we're going to be studying throughout this quarter. But one last thing I just want to point out that's in Chapter 1 that's somewhat interesting is that there is an interesting conflict here, because you see that the more risk this company takes, the more potential for growth and dividend growth, as well as we call it capital gains growth. However, the more risk this company takes does not relate to a better return for the bondholder or the one that has loaned this company money. I showed you that they receive zero capital gains and they receive an interest payment usually twice a year, and that interest payment doesn't change. So you can see as the company takes on more risk, you can see a conflict between the two, and there's an interesting little section at the end of Chapter 1 that discusses that. So I hope this helped, and I hope we have a wonderful quarter.